Now, the South African Local Government Association, SALGA, is today holding the 5th annual Local Government Governance and Performance Management Seminar at Empress Palace in Gauteng. Yesterday, the president of the organization, Bheke Stofile, participated in the debate on the State of the Nation address. He used the opportunity to indicate that the country is facing a coalition crisis amongst the partnerships in local municipalities. He joins us now via Zoom. A very good day to you, Mr. Stofile, and thanks for making the time. It's interesting that you are holding a government and governance event this morning. In the midst of all of this, when you said we're facing a coalition crisis, what did you mean?
No, greetings to you and to your listeners. It will be malicious and incorrect to attribute challenges of local government to coalition. Because as I've said in my debate yesterday, challenges of local government are systemic challenges. And you can trace them from time immemorial. On the 5th of December, 2022, local government system, wall-to-wall system in South Africa was completing 22 years since its establishment. And of course, moving from the historical establishment of local government in the country into what we are having today. Now, every time, which I was saying in Parliament, we must connect it within the context, because there are moments of where we need to reflect into the past and look into the current and begin to see how the future is going to be that communities have to face. So it is a systemic challenge. Allocation of financial fiscal resources, and it's one of those issues. And I think callers, they've made that point. What is our issue on coalition government is that in 2016 to 2021, it was 27 coalition government in the country and led by 3 coalition parties the most. 2021 to date is 87 coalition government led by more than 6 parties. Now, what we are then saying to Parliament is that when there is a fiasco in council, after elections, political parties sit in a room and share the cake amongst themselves and leave communities at limbo. And communities will only wait for when they come back from their conversation and then give them leadership that is not accountable either to communities nor to political parties. And we then said, this matter is going to contribute towards many crises, because local government, in the manner in which is meant that it must be individuals that accounts to voters at a local space. Now, it's one issue that they must deal with as legislatures. The second issue is there must be some way of holding those that are involved in agreement to form a council, to protect the council to collapse. And I was making an example yesterday in Parliament, that you won't be surprised to find a mayor in the morning to be Stofile. At 12, you find another mayor to be Tshwarelo, because the coalition government themselves are unstable. Because why they are unstable is because what made them to form coalition government
so I want to ask you
this. Not necessarily important for the issues of the service delivery.
So I want to ask you this, Mr. Stofile. What is holding up the legislative process, just in terms of clearly defining how these arrangements are supposed to be responsive to communities?
SALGA have developed a framework, and the legislative process doesn't reside in SALGA's purview. SALGA have developed a framework, and we put it across to all those that are making law, and we have even advised and venture into different sections in the law that can be explored so that you can make stability in the local government, more in particular in the coalitions.
Are you saying to us now that legislators are ignoring the advice of SALGA, an important body in the municipal and local government space?
I'm not saying that. What I'm saying, I've said we have developed a framework working together with the Dula Omar Institute, and we have developed a comprehensive framework, and then we have given to those that supposed to make law, and we even made a suggestion. For instance, we said if you look into the establishment of a municipality using Section 12 notice of the establishment of a municipality, that's an area that we can explore. If you look into Section 16, which gives rights and powers to executive authorities in provinces, that is another area that you can. But also you must have a conversation within the political parties so that when they have an agreement, that agreement it must find its expression and participation of the public, because what we are worrying about here, it become a palace politics. Political parties, after they've been voted, they sit in a boardroom, community is not knowing about that. And the democracy in local government is buttressed on the community interest. When there is collapse, it affects communities. That's what we are saying. And that is why we have submitted a detailed framework and so far as how to handle the matter is concerned. I'm happy yesterday when we put it at bear, many political parties in the room, in the sitting, they accepted that. And I understand many of them, they're beginning to make calls. For instance, I've got more than 7 calls in this morning requesting that can we have a session so that we can unpack what we have written in the framework that we have referred to during the debate.
From what you can see, why is it that this has been allowed to continue unabated? You gave a time frame from 2016 up to now. That's when we started to see the rise of coalition politics, and staggering the numbers that you're giving, that in 2016 it was 27 and we're now sitting at 87. When are we going to get some sort of acknowledgement and recognition that there is something that's not working about coalition politics, especially as it regards to serving communities?
Look, probably I will say it's many considerations, and that question it can be asked to legislators that are mandated by Constitution to do legislation. I mean, it took us how many years? It took us 22 years to recognize the funding model allocated to municipality. It doesn't speak to the interest and mandates of municipalities. It took us 22 years. And it's only now that many in the legislative sector, they are now beginning to see what we have been saying over the years. It's a true. So it depends. It might be the speed and the pace in which they are considering issues. We are not sure why, but we are happy that at long last, the issue of fiscal allocation, it has been considered to be looked at. Now the issue of the coalition government, we are looking at it now, and that is why I think the parliamentary committee has decided just a few weeks ago, having a discussion with us to consider other methods, partly to study other models elsewhere outside the country, which is a good start towards addressing the matter, but that it remains to them. We have raised the matter to them, and we are more than welcome and open to engage on the matter with anyone that wish to engage on this matter.
It's interesting what you're saying about looking at other models, and I want to use this question just to wrap up our conversation. We have a tweet from Intibano saying, "There's nothing wrong with coalitions. It's a sign that people have lost confidence in the ruling party. Before, coalition parties could act petty and not vote on council issues. Nothing new. Germany is run by coalition, and it is not that bad." Do we have hope just in terms of seeing an efficient and a well-running coalition machinery in South Africa? Is there hope?
There is a hope because, like I agree with the message. There's nothing wrong with coalition because coalition is an expression of communities, and therefore, voters, it can't be anything wrong with the expression of communities. But what is required is how do we manage that legislative? And that is the weakness probably today we are dealing with. To me, there is a hope going forward because coalition government is here to stay. And that is why I give these statistics from time immemorial. And there is a likelihood, 257 municipalities to grow in the next elections to more than 100. So it means it's something that we must propel and prepare ourselves about it now, and so that we can manage it going into the future, so that it doesn't have a negative impact to communities.
Clearly, there's lots to speak about, but time not allowing. Bheke Stofile is the president of the South African Local Government Association, talking to us there today. They're hosting the 5th annual Local Government Governance and Performance Management Seminar at Empress Palace in Gauteng. Let's thank you for your time, sir.